Hello students, this is your English lesson. In this lesson, we are going to read unit number 7 from Oxford Reading Circle book 7. So we start our lesson. The title of the unit is My Big Brother and this is page number 65 from your book. My big brother was 5 years older than me but only 3 grades ahead. He'd begun his studies at the same age I had, but he didn't like the idea of moving hastily in an important matter like education. He wanted to lay a firm foundation of that great edifice, a large imposing building, so he took 2 years to do 1 year's work. Sometimes he even took three. If the foundations weren't well made, how could the edifice suffer something patiently? I was 9, he was 14. He had full right by seniority to supervise and instruct me, and I was expected to accept every order of his as law. By nature, he was studious, spending a lot of time in study or a lot of time studying. He was always sitting with a book open, and perhaps to rest his brain, he would sometimes draw pictures of birds and cats in the margin of his notebook. Occasionally, he would write a name, a word, or a sentence 10 or 20 times. He might copy out a couplet several times in beautiful letters or create new words which made no rhyme or reason. He was in the ninth grade, I was in the sixth. To understand his creation was beyond my powers. I wasn't really very keen about studying. To pick up a book and sit with it for an hour was a tremendous effort. As soon as I found a chance, I would leave the hostel and play marbles or fly paper kites, or sometimes just meet a chum. Sometimes we'd climb onto the courtyard walls and jump down. But as soon as I came back into the room and saw my brother's scowling face, I was petrified. His first question would be, "Where were you?" My silence was an acknowledgement of guilt, and my brother's only remedy for this was to greet me with indignant words, indignant feeling, or showing anger. If you study English this way, you will be studying your whole life. Studying English is no laughing matter that anyone who wants to can learn. You have got to wear out your eyes morning and night and use every ounce of energy. Ounce a very small amount. And I ask you, how much of a black blockhead are you that you can't learn a lesson from looking at me? You have seen how much I grind. No matter how many shows and festivals there may be. Have you ever seen me going to watch them? Every day there are cricket and hockey matches, but I don't go near them. I keep on studying all the time, and even so, it takes me 2 years or even three for one grade. So, how do you expect to pass when you waste your time playing? If you waste your time, it would be better if you just went home and played cricket to your heart's content. Why waste our dad's hard earned money? Hearing a dressing down like this, I would start to cry. What could I answer? My brother was an expert in the art of giving advice. He would say such sarcastic words, sarcastic, ironic, that my spirits would collapse, fall in despair, hopelessness. For a little while, I would think, why don't I run away from school and go back home? But after an hour or two, the cloud of despair would disappear, and I would resolve to study with all my might. I would draw up a schedule on the spot. In my timetable, the heading of play was entirely absent. Get up at the crack of dawn, wash hands and face at 6, eat a snack, sit down and study. From 6 to 8 English, 8 to 9 arithmetic, 9 to 9:30 history, then mealtime, and afterwards off to school. A half hour's rest at 3:30 when I got back from school, geography from 4 to 5, grammar from 5 to 6, then a half hour's walk in front of the hostel. 6:30 to 7 English composition, then super translation from 8 to 9, science from 9 to 10, from 10 to 11 miscellaneous, then to bed. But it's one thing to draw up a schedule, another to follow it. It began to be neglected from the very first day. The inviting green expanse of the playground, the balmy winds, the exciting stratagems of prisoners' base, stratagems, cunning plans, would all draw me mysteriously and irresistibly in a way that is too attractive. As soon as I was there, I forgot everything, the life destroying schedule, the books that strained your eyes, and then my big brother would have an occasion for sermons and scoldings. The yearly exams came round. My brother failed. I passed and was first in my class. Only 2 years difference was left between him and me. It occurred to me to taunt him. Look at me. I went on playing and having a good time, and I am at the head of my class. But he was so sad and depressed that I felt genuinely sorry for him. But now I could be a little proud of myself, and indeed my ego expanded. My brother's sway over me was over. I began to take part freely in games. My spirits were running high. He guessed it. And one day, when I would spend the whole morning playing cricket, he said, I see you have passed and you are first in your class and you have got stuck up about it. But, my dear brother, even great men live to regret their pride. And who are you compared to them? A man can commit any sin he wants, but he would better not be proud nor give himself airs. You have just been promoted one grade and your head's turned by it. Understand this, you didn't pass through your own efforts, but just stumbled on it by luck. Stumbled fall to hit you. Don't assume that because I failed, I'm stupid and you are smart. When you reach my class, you will have to bite into algebra and geometry and study English history. It's not easy to memorize these kings' names. There were 8 Henrys. Do you think it's easy to remember all the things that happened in each Henry's time? If you write Henry the English instead of Henry the Seventh, you get a zero. There were dozens of Jameses, dozens of Williams, and scores of Charleses. You get dizzy with them. Dizzy make feel unsteady. Those poor fellows didn't have names enough to go around. If anybody had asked me, I could have reeled, moving one side to side reeled off thousands of names. And as for geometry, well, God help you. If you write ACB instead of ABC, your whole answer is marked wrong. Nobody ever asks those hard hearted examiners what is the difference, after all, between ABC and ACB, or why they waste their time torturing the students with it. Does it make any difference if you eat lentils, boiled rice, or bread, or boiled rice, lentils, and bread? But what to do? What do those examiners care? They expect us to learn it word for word, and in the long run, what's the point of learning all this nonsense? If you bring this perpendicular line down on that line, it will be twice the baseline. I ask you, what's the point of that? If it isn't twice as long, it's 4 times as long or half as long. What the devil do I care? But you have got to pass, so you have got to memorize all this garbage. When you get into my class, you will find out what's what. Just because you got a first win this time, you are all puffed up. So pay attention to what I say. What if I failed? I'm still older than you. I have more experience of the world. It was almost time for school. Otherwise, I don't know when this medley of sermons would have ended. Medley, a varied mixture of people or things, sermons to talk on the religious or moral subjects. Then it was the yearly exams again. Once more I passed and my brother failed. I hadn't done much work, but my brother had just about killed himself with work. He had grown pale. I felt sorry for him. When he heard the results, he broke down and cried, and so did I. My pleasure in passing was cut by half. There was only one grade left between my brother and me. The thought crossed my mind that if he failed just once more, I would be at the same level as him. And then what grounds would he have for lecturing me? But I violently rejected this unworthy idea. Now my brother had become much gentler towards me. Several times when he found occasion to scold me, he did it without losing his temper. Perhaps he himself was beginning to understand that he no longer had the right to tell me off. My independence grew. I began to take unfair advantage of his toleration. I found a new player in flying kites and spent all my time at the sport. Still, I minded my manners with my brother and concealed my kite flying from him. One day, far from the hostel, I was running along like mad, trying to grab hold of a kite. My eyes were on the heavens and that high flying traveler in the skies. A whole army of boys came racing out to welcome it. Nobody was aware who was in front or at the back of him. It was as though every one of them was flying along with that kite. Suddenly, I collided with my brother, who was probably returning from the market. He grabbed my hand, grabbed to take hold of something, and said angrily, "Aren't you ashamed to be running with these ragamuffins after a 5 rupee kite?" Ragamuffins, a person, typically a child in dirty clothes. "Have you forgotten that you are not in a low grade anymore? I'm sorry to see you have so little sense. You are smart, but what use is it if it destroys your self respect? You must have assumed I'm just one grade behind my brother, so now he doesn't have any right to say anything to me. But you are mistaken. I am 5 years older than you, and that difference between us cannot be removed. The experience I have of life you can never catch up with, even if you get an MA and a PhD. Understanding doesn't come from reading books. Our mother never passed any grade, and dad probably never went beyond the fifth. But even if we studied the wisdom of the whole world, mother and father would always have the right to explain to us and to correct us, not just because they are our parents, but because they'll always have more experience of the world. Maybe they don't know what kind of government they have got in America or how many constellations there are. Constellations, constellations, a group of stars, but there are 1,000 things they know more about than you or me. So, brother, don't be so proud of having almost caught up with me and being independent now. I'll see that you don't go off the track. If you don't mind then showing me his fist, I can use this too. I know you don't like hearing all this. I was thoroughly ashamed by this new approach of his. I had truly come to know my own insignificance, and a new respect for my brother was born in my heart. With tears in my eyes, I said, "No, no, what you say is completely true, and you have the right to say it." My brother embraced me and said, "I don't forbid you to fly kites. I would like to too, but what can I do? If I go off the track myself, then how can I watch out for you? That's my responsibility." Just then, a kite that had been cut loose passed over us with its string dangling down, dangling, hanging loosely. A crowd of boys were chasing after it. My brother is very tall. Leaping up, he caught hold of the string and ran at top speed towards the hostel, and I ran close behind him. Now come to the exercises. A questions. 1. What edifice is mentioned in the first paragraph? Answer. The great edifice is education. 2. In what ways was the narrator quite different from his brother? Answer. The big brother spent his days toiling over his books and sometimes dawdling in the margin of his notebooks. The author wasn't really very keen on studying. He preferred to play marbles, fly kites, or meet a friend. He would look for some opportunities to leave the hostel. 3. What comments did the big brother have to make on the following? A. English and history. B. Algebra and geometry. C. Pride. D. The age difference between the two of them. Answer. English. It's not easy to memorize these kings' names. There were 8 Henrys, and it was difficult to remember what happened in each Henry's time. There were also dozens of Jameses, Williams, and Charleses. B. Algebra and geometry. If you write ABC instead of ACB, your whole answer is wrong. What was the difference between the two? In geometry, he couldn't see the point of bringing the perpendicular to the base to prove that it was twice the base. See pride. Even great men live to regret pride. D. The age difference between the two of them. His brother said that he was 5 years older than the author, and this difference could not be removed. This age difference gave his brother greater wisdom. 4. What lesson about his parents did the big brother teach the younger? Answer. Experience of the world and life is more important than degrees. The big brother gave the example of their mother who had never passed any grade and their father who never probably went beyond 5th grade and knew 1,000 more things about the world. 5. In what way does the story end on an optimistic note? Answer. The story ends on an optimistic note when the elder brother embraces the younger one and leaps up to catch hold of the string of the kite which had cut loose and passed over them. Both then ran at the top speed towards the hostel, the younger following the older one. 6. Do you think the big brother used the right approach to teach his brother a lesson? Give reasons for your answer. An- Answer. I do not think the brother used the right approach because he was scolding him most of the time. Children do not like it when their elder brothers or sisters scold them. Instead, they should talk to them in a friendly way and explain the right way of doing things to them. 7. If you were the narrator in the story, how would you react to the big brother's new approach at the end of the story? Answer. I would feel sad because my elder brother scolded me in front of everybody, but I would also understand what he was trying to tell me about respecting my elders. After this incident, I would follow his advice and show him greater respect for his wisdom. B. Reference to context. Read these lines from the story, then answer the questions. 1. I tried very hard to make some sense out of this, but I didn't succeed and I didn't dare ask him. A. What is the speaker trying to make sense out of? Answer. The speaker is trying to make sense of one of his brother's creations. It appears to be a rhyme followed by the sketch of a man's face, but he cannot understand it at all. B. Why does the speaker say he didn't dare ask him? Answer. He dared not ask him because his brother was in the ninth grade and he was only in the sixth. He thought that the creation was beyond his level of understanding. See, in what way is the speaker different from the person being spoken about? Answer. The speaker wasn't really keen on studying, even to pick up a book and sit with it for an hour was an effort, whereas his brother would be at his books for hours at end. The speaker would have the hostel to fly kites or play with marbles at every opportunity, unlike his elder brother. C. Words and meaning. 1. Complete the following. A. To understand his creation was beyond my powers. B. Hearing a dressing down like this, I would start to cry. C. To pick up a book and sit with it for an hour was a tremendous effort. D. And then my big brother would have an occasion for sermons and scoldings. E. But now I could be a little proud of myself and indeed my ego expanded. 2. Use these expressions in sentences of your own. A. Genuinely sorry. Sentence. I was genuinely sorry to have caused my friend grief through some careless words spoken about her. B. Sway over me. No one but my parents have any sway over me about matters of discipline. C. Medley of sermons. Sentence. The headmaster has a habit of delivering a medley of sermons to us poor souls at the morning assembly every day. D. Violently rejected. Sentence. My proposal to go for a movie on the eve of a major examination was violently rejected by all my friends. E. Take unfair advantage. Sentence. One should not take unfair advantage of the underprivileged. F. Stumbled on. Sentence. The detective stumbled on some important evidence while searching the house. D. Discuss and write. 1. Do you agree with the following view? I'm just one grade behind my brother, so now he doesn't have any right to say anything to me. Answer. No, I don't agree with this view because his brother is 5 years older than him and that difference between them cannot be removed. 2. Go through the text with a friend, make 2 columns in your notebook and write down points about the two brothers. Answer. Big brother was 14. By nature, he was studious. He was always sitting with the book open, and perhaps to rest his brain, he would sometimes draw pictures of birds and cats in the margin of his notebook. He was an expert in the art of giving advice. He had just about killed himself with work. He would grown pale. He was much gentle towards his younger brother. Now, my brother had become much gentler towards me. Several times when he found occasions to scold me, he did it without losing his temper. Younger brother was 9 years old. He was fond of study as told in the story. I wasn't really very keen about studying. To pick up a book and sit with it for an hour was a tremendous effort. As soon as I found a chance, I would leave the hostel and play marbles or fly kites. Yeah, the younger brother was smart. I would draw up a schedule on the spot. In my timetable, the heading of play was entirely absent. Get up at the crack of dawn, wash hands and face at 6, eat a snack, sit down and study. Thanks for listening. For new videos, don't forget to subscribe my channel. And if you like my videos, please share and like.